I am so excited to have Sarrah Smith with us today on the Holistic Sister Circle. Oh my gosh, Sarah and I we met just like last week, and her story was so phenomenal, and I'm so glad that she's here and you can hear more about it from herself. But let's take it away here. So Sarah is the founder of the Holy Light Intuitive Energetic Healing modality. She is a divine channel for the collective, Ezekiel Reiki Master, certified light worker, and author. And I know that was a mouthful, so she's going to share with us today too as to what all that means. And her mission and passion is to spread holy light healing near and far to help men and women heal deep rooted wounds and traumas from their ancestors, past lives, and from this lifetime that is holding them back. Ooh, this is juicy. Sarrah, thank you for being here. And for us to just get started, can you tell us a little bit about how did you get into this type of work?
You know what, Viair, thank you for having me. I am so honored and grateful to be here with you today. This journey, wow, it's something. I started about four and a half years ago, just before the pandemic. Um, my life had just taken a turn. I was at like my lowest low, going through depression, and it was actually my sister that was like, why don't you get some healing crystals? Why don't you start meditation and see what that does for you? Because I was at a point where like I knew things needed to change. I needed to do something within myself to make the changes. So I started with meditation and with the crystals, and I kid you not, the doors like literally blew wide open. I was receiving guidance, I was seeing things, I was hearing things. And I know it sounds woo woo to some, but it's no joke. Like the doors literally blew wide open. Now, a little bit of a backstory there is when I was younger, I could see spirit, I could feel them. I could feel them touching me. Like I always knew spirit was around. I was always very intrigued by the metaphysical world. And when I was a teenager, I messed around with the Ouija board. Make a long story short, I messed around with the Ouija board and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the sacredity of the board, nothing about protecting energy. I was only 16 years old and I ended up welcoming in a lower energy spirit. And that didn't work out so well for me or my sister. So I ended up shutting down my gifts. I wanted nothing to do with the metaphysical at that point. I was scared. So now, fast forward to the meditation, the doors blowing wide open again. I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling them. I could feel the little tickles on the back of my neck. I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things in my meditation. And from there, I just started following the guidance that was coming in. So at first, I thought it was my spirit guide that I was connecting to, and I ended up finding out later on that it was actually this whole collective, and they present themselves as Ezekiel. And in one of my meditations, they led me through a self healing. And at the time, I had no idea what Reiki was. I had no idea what um, energy healing was. I just knew that I was being shown to go over my chakras with my hands. And the energy was pretty intense. So I was like, okay. So I did what any normal person would do. And I jumped on the computer and I started looking up healing with hands. What is this? And Reiki was what popped up. So I was like, okay, I get it. You want me to learn Reiki. I followed the guidance. I found a Reiki master, and that's where that journey began. I followed through to my Reiki master. I loved the healing energy. I just loved everything about Reiki. But little did I know was there was still a greater purpose for me with the collective. And the reason why I needed to learn Reiki was because I needed to learn and understand exactly what energy healing was, because they were gifting me symbols and they were telling me what these symbols were, what they were used for, how to use them. And they said that this modality was called Holy Light. So through their guidance, I just kept channeling, writing everything out, getting the symbols, getting what the symbols meant. And when I had all the information together, then I started to practice. I'm like, okay, I got all this. Let me see what this really is. So I started on myself and I was like, oh, this is different. This is different. This feels really cool. But again, anybody that knows that imposter syndrome is real. It is so real. So I was like, okay, is it just me? Am I making this up in my head or is this like really working? So I got together a few people that were my testers. And I started doing sessions with this healing modality on the select group of people, and the results were phenomenal. I was like, okay, you know what? We're onto something here. Like, you guys really did gift me this. And the rest has been history. I've been working with the energy and with Ezekiel and just really trying to spread this healing energy out. Because it really is. It's truly amazing. It's so transformative. It gets down to the root core of our traumas, our past life traumas, those ancestral traumas that we keep carrying forward that get passed down to us. It helps to break those karmic bounds that are holding us back in that cycle of self-sabotage and those cycles that you're just so tired of playing over and over and over again, allowing you to be able to free yourself so that you can live your best life, so that you can be free of everything that is holding you down, that's weighing you down.
Wow. Well, one, thank you so much for sharing that. That was a lot of information packed in a few minutes. And it's okay because we're gonna break it down, so don't even worry.
Okay. All
Uh,
right.
so my first question for you is you talked a little bit about low energy vibration and then wanting nothing to do with like that type of spirit. Can you share a little bit more of like what did you mean by that, or what do you mean by low any energy vibration, or what was that?
Well, everything is energy, right? And um I'll use to break it down a little bit easier because I've got the thoughts like running faster than my mouth right now. um so in that instance, for example, the energy that I brought in, it felt very heavy. It was a very heavy energy. Um and it was attaching itself to my sister where she would wake up in the middle of the night screaming and crying, feeling like something was choking her. Like she couldn't breathe. Like it felt like there was hands on her throat. Um, and then she
Wow.
was seeing like these shadows that were really spooking her out. My parents, I grew up Catholic, so my parents ended up bringing a priest into the house to bless the house to try and remove the spirit. But
Wow.
again, everything is energy, and um we come like our souls have lived many lives, right? This isn't our first lifetime, this isn't our first go, and each lifetime we come to learn. Like that, being a human, being on earth is a big playground of learning. And we map out, we before we come, we map out everything we set out to do, everything we set out to experience. And as we go through these experiences and we learn from them, when we're ready to cross over, when this lifetime is done, when this learning session is done, we take those lessons and it helps our souls to elevate an energy. Now, when we aren't learning those lessons, or if we've had a lifetime where, it's kind of dark, right? Like, because not every lifetime is going to be sunshine and roses. We're going to have some rough paths. And I'm sure some people are experiencing those now. If you go through those rough patches, right, or you do those not so good things and you don't learn from them, then that's going to keep your energy, those spirit energies, down at a lower vibration because they're not going to be able to elevate until they learn those lessons. So this is where we come back And now we've got to do another lifetime where we've got to repeat those lessons that we didn't learn from. Right. Now, it might not be the exact same scenario, but it's going to be something along those lines that you've done that you didn't learn from that you're going to have to repeat to do again.
Wow. So
that makes sense.
no, it
Sorry.
makes sense. And the reason I'm asking this question too is because when you told me this, I mean, even you telling me now, it gives me chills all over again. But I remember when we had this conversation last week and you were telling me your story, I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't want you to brush over this part because people really are in a space like this. And I'll give you an example. So my sibling was diagnosed with schizophrenia at 18. And at that moment, I mean, it was like pulling teeth and nails. It was like seeing voices and even sometimes demonic spirits and not really knowing like who to turn to or what to do and on all, different psychotic medications and things of that nature. And it got to the point where even now I'm grateful to be having these conversations with you and just more people who are in this space, because I do believe that when you are on or you've set yourself to a lower vibration, you start to attract demonic spirits that don't have bodies or don't have entities to live in. So, I mean, they're out here, but when you're not in a state of flow and rediscovery and purpose and really trying to put yourself in a position to win and learning new skills and all these different things, it gives them an opportunity to creep on in. And now you're in a position where you're like, holy crap, I'm really hitting rock bottom because I don't even know where to go from here. And I know there's a lot of people too that maybe they're not the ones going through this, but maybe they have family members or friends where they've may had these interactions with and not really knowing how to deal with them or even know what to say. So from your just perspective, I know it was just you and your sister at the time, and then your parents did what they thought that was deemed necessary at that time when you were a child. But if you were to talk to someone now who is kind of in that state of mind, maybe they know that they need answers, they know they need to do something different, but for whatever reason, they keep having these conversations or visions or thoughts of spirits that they probably shouldn't. Like, what would you say to someone that's going through that right now?
First things first is begin with healing. Our journey in this lifetime, in order to elevate, to rise above, we've got to start with healing because it starts from the inside out, right? Working on your own fears, your own phobias, working on your own mindset before you can work on anything else, right? Because one thing that I have noticed, and I would really love to change this norm, is people bond over trauma.
Mm.
People bond over trauma, and then we make our traumas part of our identity. And that keeps you in a lower vibration because you're constantly going back and living that story. You're telling that story. You're making it part of your DNA. You're making it part of who you are. That's your identity. But when we begin to heal and let go of those traumas and we let go of those wounds and that mindset, then we're able to raise our vibrations. And when we raise our vibrations, the energies that are below us, they can't rise up to us. We become untouchable. The only time those energies can really affect us is when we lower ourselves down to meet them. And then it's like fair game. We're on the same playing field. So it's every man for themselves. But when you begin to heal and you raise your own vibrations through healing, then you become untouchable because you're no longer down here with those vibrations. You're on a whole nother level. You're on the vibration of gratitude. You're seeing things in your life that you need, that you are grateful for. You're seeing things in yourself that, you know what, you feel really good about, right? And the better you feel, the more these lower energies are going to drift away, right?
Ooh.
The things that are no longer in alignment with you, they fade out, they fade away. And that's why people see when they start this journey is, why am I losing so many friends? Why am I losing so many people? Because you're no longer at their level. And it's not
Ooh.
anything wrong with them. It's where they are in their journey, but this is where you are now in your journey. And now that your vibrations are higher, you now need to become more in alignment with people that are at your level,
Mm.
right?
Oh my gosh, this is literally giving me chills because this is what, no, seriously, like this is what people need to hear. And I think, for a long time, and I'll give a short story just as an example, but for a long time, I was this like shy little girl growing up. And my mom really was that beacon for me. So she spoke up for me. She fought battles for me. We were like thick as thieves. And as I started to grow and become an adult and really learn what I liked and what I didn't like and what I wanted to tolerate and what I didn't want to tolerate, I noticed that our relationship started to dwindle. And it got to the point where I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't go back because I don't want to bond over trauma, but
Mhm.
I want to be with you. I want to connect with you in a deeper and a different way. But I'm realizing that you also have to want to move forward too. And until that happens, we're going to kind of be like, there's going to be a little gap between us in this journey. And I say all that to say is because I know I talk to so many people who have this relationship, this mother-daughter relationship where it's been very, very difficult for them to detach. And when they do detach and they do truly figure out who they are and whose they are in Christ, it now gets to the point where it's like, well, what about my mom? What about my family? What about the things that I liked before? And I love that you bring this up because that would be another question I have for you is for those who may still be living at home with their parents or not in a position where they have that voice to know, like, I feel trapped, I feel caged, like I love being around my family, but I also know that there's more to this. What would you tell them to
That's
help
where
them along their journey?
I totally get it. That is where it gets really difficult, right?
Mhm.
And that is where boundaries come in. So,
Mm.
like, the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right?
Right.
So, you can show them where you're going, where your path is. You can tell them how you're feeling, what you're doing, but you can't make them jump on that same path with you. They've got to want to do it and they've got to want to do it for themselves. But the more you show how you're doing, the more curious people get. It's our
Mm.
natural instinct to be curious, right? Because we're here to learn.
Right.
So, and it can be a double-edged sword. Some will get curious and want some of that good juice too, and some get curious and it can turn into jealousy. So that's a double-edged sword there, but it's boundaries. It's understanding and learning who you are and where you are, and then setting those boundaries. What is okay? What is for you? What is safe for you in this time? Right. And as family members and loved ones that are close to us, if, they really do respect us and love us, then they're going to honor those boundaries that we set for where we are on our journey, just as
Mhm.
we respect them. Right. People get stuck on the idea of family, right? Because, those are the people that gave like your parents, they gave birth to
Right.
you, they brought you into this world, and we have that conditioning. I brought you into this world. I know I've heard this a million times when I was a kid. I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Right? We hold on to this idea of family, and family always gets a pass. No matter what, they can do no wrong. Family always gets a
Ooh.
pass, but that is not the case.
Yeah.
Even though they are family, boundaries still need to be set. You still need to be respected. And again, that starts with you. It starts with you honoring yourself, loving yourself, and respecting yourself enough to set those boundaries to say, hey, guys, I'm not okay with this anymore. Why don't we do this instead? Or why don't we talk about this instead? That's not something I want to associate myself with. And like I said, if they're family, if they love you and they honor you, then they're going to honor those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, it's okay to take a step back, right? Now, I'm not saying cut them out and never talk to them again. No, it's family, and I get that. That's not something that is easy for anybody to do, but you can take a step back and show, like, you know what? No, I'm serious. These are my boundaries. This is what I'm okay with. And if you're not okay with it, then you know what? I'm going to step back a little bit. Sometimes they just need that awakening to be like, okay, you know what? They're not playing.
Yeah.
Oh, she's serious.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. So before we get into just more about your offers and, how you can help just some of us, can you talk a little bit about just some practical steps? Like, what have you learned just in this journey of you healing and growing and working with clients and things of that nature? What is the one piece of advice you can share with us to help us along our journey? And what are some practical steps to that we can take today?
Um, so one step that really helped me through my healing was an exercise that Ezekiel gave me. And if you're following me on social media at all, I've been doing this with everybody or with people that would like to take part, is 21 days of self gratitude. And
Mm,
self gratitude is finding the attributes within yourself that you are grateful for. And it's not just the good things like, oh, I'm grateful I have good hair, or I'm grateful that I'm pretty. It's everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, you know what? You have a temper. Be grateful you have a temper. Why do you have that temper? It's digging deep to find like that real core reason why you're so amazing. And doing this exercise, it wasn't easy, but it totally transformed the way I viewed myself because I had no self-esteem. I had no faith in myself. I was literally a doormat for everybody to walk all over because I couldn't speak. But once I started doing this exercise, and it like effortlessly helped raise my vibrations, and it really changed my mindset on the way I viewed myself. So that's one thing that people can do to start off right away is start with gratitude, start with self-gratitude journaling. And it doesn't have to be a long 10 page or like, oh, I got to put a lot of thought. No, it's coming from the soul. So even if it's only 2 or 3 lines, that's coming from your soul. And then you go back and you read over them and you're like, oh, damn, I am really freaking amazing. Right? Another thing is meditation. Meditation is so amazing for the mind, body, and soul, for your focus, for clarity, and just really tapping within, like to yourself within. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate. Like no, that's not happening. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah, your mind is going to wander. Yeah, thoughts are going to come in, but that's okay. That's okay. Observe them. Let the thoughts come in. Thank you. Move along. But you don't have to sit for hours at a time. You don't have to sit for 20 minutes. Start with 5 minutes, or even a guided meditation on self-love, or whatever it is that you need at the time that is resonating with you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Now, I know our time has come to an end, but can you just share some of your offerings, and for people who would like to work with you, how can they reach you?
Oh, definitely. So I am taking on new clients for healing sessions. And that can look like many different things for people, and we're all individuals. So I don't have a cookie cutter. I usually will have a chat with you and say, okay, this is how we're going to go about this. So if you're interested in a healing session, you can reach out to me on Facebook, at Holy Light Healing, on Facebook, or even on Instagram, Holy Light Healing. I do have a website, www.holylighthealing.com. And you can also email me at sarahsmith@holylighthealing.com. I do also teach this healing modality, so that there are more people that are able to spread this healing. So if this is something that you're interested in too, you can contact me on any of those platforms and pick my brain. Let's have a conversation.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sarah. It has been a pleasure. And until next time. Queen, thank you so much for tuning in. It truly warms our heart that you're taking the time out of your day to connect with us. If you'd like to connect with our guests further, you can find their information located in the description section of this episode. And if you found this episode helpful, share with another queen, and don't forget to connect with the Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and Facebook. And until next week, stay blessed. Mwah.